You feel out of breath, tired, and it feels like you're trying to swim with a walrus on your back. Breathing is one of the most difficult parts of swimming, but it doesn't have to be. And that's exactly why you need to keep watching this video until the very end so that you can learn once and for all how to breathe correctly while you're swimming so that you can swim faster, longer, and do it with ease. Now, the first mistake you're probably making is you just don't know how to breathe. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, yeah, of course I know how to breathe. I'm watching this video. I hope you're breathing well and fine. But breathing and swimming is completely different than any other land-based activity. We learn in meditation and yoga and just being a good functioning human that we need to breathe in and out through our nose. If we can just close our mouths and breathe in and out of our nose, we're gonna be in great shape. But in swimming, it actually works the opposite, which can be so confusing. That's right, you breathe in your mouth and out your nose. If you try and do it any other way, you're not gonna actually be able to swim efficiently. Go ahead and try it with me. I want you to breathe in your mouth and then you're gonna hum out your nose. I know it sounds really basic, but if you can't master this out of the water, how are you going to be able to do this comfortably in the water? Go ahead and do it with me right now. If you're sitting in a public area, this is gonna be awkward. Let's go. Here we go. In your mouth. Out your nose. Now, if you do this a few times, you might actually get out of breath because your body is not used to it. But believe me, if you practice this out of the water, even if you're just learning how to swim or you're advanced, you need to master this skill because the mechanics of how you actually breathe will dictate your ability to be efficient in the water. You might also be taking some shallow breaths. You want to make sure you're taking in the full breaths. A big mistake a lot of swimmers make is that they're very nervous, they're anxious. You start to get tired after swimming a little bit. Next thing you know, you're panting for air and you're not actually relaxed in the water. And what you're not doing is you're not taking full breaths. So you got to make sure you relax and give it a try. Remember, I mentioned in yoga and meditation, you learn to take these big inhales through your nose, you hold it in your core, and then you blow out your mouth. On land, that's a fantastic way to try and relax. And when you're resting at the wall, this is actually a great way to get your heart rate back down. The things that you do on land apply when you're resting on the wall. So breathe in your nose, breathe out your mouth. But while you're swimming, as you rotate and take a breath, you gotta make sure you're pushing out your nose so that way you clear everything out so you have the ability to breathe in through your mouth. Now, the second thing is tension in your body. If your body is fatigued, if you're flexing, if you're not relaxed, you're basically gonna use more energy than you need to, and that's why you're gonna feel out of breath while you swim. I've seen some of the most elite, fit athletes in the world get in the pool and they look like they're gonna drown after just swimming a few strokes. They know how to swim, but they haven't built the capacity and their muscles are just firing on all cylinders just to keep them moving. So despite how aerobically fit they are, I'm talking about people who have run marathons, people who have done the Ironman, and yet when they get in the pool or they get in the open water, they struggle with this. Now, a big mistake a lot of people make is kicking. I want you to stop kicking. Even if you're an advanced swimmer, if you feel like you are getting out of breath after swimming 25 meters, 50 meters, 200, 500 meters, it's because you're kicking too much. If you think about blood flow, your legs have most of the blood flowing through them in your entire body. Your legs are huge. So if you're using them to kick, it's a very ineffective way to move you through the water. Remember, you want to swim with your entire body. So if you're over kicking, you're basically sucking all the blood out of your system towards your legs, and you're just tiring yourself out for no reason. So a big mistake a lot of people make is all this tension in the body is actually just doing too much work. Believe it or not, you'll actually swim easier and faster if you just stop trying as hard. I know, it's crazy, right? Try less and you'll swim faster. Now, a great drill that I love working on with athletes is just pushing off the wall and floating. So all you're gonna do is really relax your body and you're gonna really hold your core tight. So we don't wanna have tension in our body in the sense that we're overdoing it and we're just kind of getting tired by moving a lot. If anything, you are going to have tension in your body, but I want you to be like a torpedo underwater. So you push off the wall, float in a good streamline, it'll work on your body position. And if you can nail this, you'll be able to really relax your body and hold that line with the right amount of tension in your body. So that way you're not overly tired and you can keep going for a long period of time. Now, the third thing you're probably struggling with is technique. How do you actually take a breath? What is the proper way to engage in the breath while you swim? Now, in this video, I'm gonna cover freestyle. We have a bunch of other videos you can go watch if you wanna see the other strokes, but for freestyle, it's all about body position. Remember, the water is 800 times more dense than air. You knew I was gonna throw that in there, of course, and that's why it's so important that you have a good body position. Your head is looking down. And when you have a good head position, a good body position, that allows you to nail the eye-ear position connection. Just made that up. Basically, what you're trying to do, you take your stroke, you're gonna roll onto your side. You wanna keep one eye and one ear in the water. You wanna make sure that you are really keeping your balance and not lifting your head up. And it's so important what we just talked about when you exhale through your nose and then you inhale through your mouth. So you're pushing out your nose, and that exhale, that little bit of a get the water out of the way, so that way you can inhale through your mouth. You go, no sound effects needed in the water, and then you get your breath. So it's this eye and ear, one eye, one ear underneath the water, one eye, one ear over the water. Now let's talk about breathing cadence. How often should you breathe? Should you be breathing every single arm stroke? So you breathe, stroke, breathe, stroke, breathe, stroke, breathe. No, that is not efficient because you haven't fully cycled through the oxygen in your system. Now this is actually, in terms of cadence, it's pretty similar to how your body works in running and just working out in general. For example, if you're in the weight room, you're doing push-ups, if you're doing the bench press, right? You inhale on the way down, you exhale on the way out. If you think about the time between each repetition, it takes about 2 seconds, 1 or 2 seconds, if you're really pushing yourself well. Now, when you think about swimming, if you take one arm stroke every second and you're trying to breathe every second, you didn't have enough time to cycle the CO2 out of your body so that you need more oxygen in the first place. And so the cadence you're looking for in swimming is about every 2 strokes. Some people make it work with every 3 strokes, some every 4, but I would argue every 4 strokes is not enough oxygen. Even if you feel like you can swim, no problem, 50 meters, and you only breathe every 4 strokes, and it feels like you're forcing yourself to breathe every 2 strokes, in fact, that is actually more efficient to breathe every 2 strokes and just really build a pattern. Now this ties into our next thing, which is bilateral breathing. Bilateral breathing is where you breathe on both sides. I already mentioned breathing every 1 stroke, meaning stroke breath, stroke breath. That's not good, that's too often. Bilateral breathing is normally referred to when we're talking breathing every 3 strokes or breathing every 5 strokes. I don't think it's an issue if you have a preference to one side versus another, similar to how you use your hands, right? I write with my right hand. I can theoretically write with my left hand, but it's not going to be as good. I'm physically able to use both my hands. When you swim, it's the same thing. It's okay if you have a preference to one side, but you should be capable of using both sides of your body to breathe. So when you do some drills and warm-up exercises in the pool, it's a good idea to mix in some bilateral breathing just to make sure you're balancing out your stroke and not forget how to actually breathe on both sides of your body. That's especially helpful in sighting in open water, but even if you're not doing open water, it's a good skill to have nonetheless. And then finally, flip turns, because when it comes to technique, this is probably why you're watching the video. You come into the flip turn, even if you're not doing an actual somersault, right? You touch the wall, you feel like you're gonna die, and then you gotta push off again. It's hard, I get it. That's why I clicked on this video. So really make sure you're approaching the workout, the set, the thing that you're doing with a positive mindset and anticipate what's about to come. I think a lot of people make the mistake, oh my God, I have to swim for 25 or 50 meters and then I'll figure it out when I get to the wall. That's not how it works. You're gonna set yourself up for failure. Instead, actually break apart the workout where you can be more intentional on the flip turn itself. And again, even if you don't do a flip turn, just by focusing on that part of the length of the pool is super important. For example, let's say you're gonna start in the middle of the pool. These are called mid-pool 25s or 50s or 75s. You literally start in the middle of the pool, and the whole point is to, push off of nothing, and then you swim only 12.5 meters. If you're in a 25-meter pool, you're only gonna swim at 12.5 into the wall, out of the wall. You're working just on the flip turn. Obviously, from a breath control perspective, you're not gonna be as tired because you only swam 10 or 12 meters going into the wall. So what you wanna do is be very intentional with the sets that you do to really think about the flip turns. Even if you're not doing a somersault, really pay attention to that. Now, the fourth mistake and struggle is probably you have a weak diaphragm. Now, the diaphragm is all the tissue that is in this midsection of your body right here. And it's really the flexibility and strength of this diaphragm which controls how easy it is for you to breathe and also how fast of a swimmer you will be. Your lung capacity, vital lung capacity is a part of that. You also want to consider the pressure of the water on your body. This is really apparent if you just started swimming. Because if you think about it, when you're on land, and let's say you go for a run or a walk, your lungs are free to expand within the constraints of your skin and your t-shirt or whatever you're wearing, right? When you go in the water, all of a sudden you have the pressure of the water pushing against your body. So it's actually pushing against your body. At the same time, you feel kind of like weightless, like you're floating in the water. It's an interesting feeling. That's what makes swimming so amazing. So you want to consider all of these different things. And if you want to improve your diaphragm strength and flexibility and vital lung capacity, there are a few things that you need to do both in and out of the water. Now, here's what you can do in the water. You can do sets where you actually work on breath control. You're actually counting the number of strokes you take between breaths or how many breaths you take per length of the pool. I'm going to share with you a set that we did in college, but this goes back to bilateral breathing. If you're breathing every 3 strokes or every 5 strokes, maybe that's going to be more difficult because you normally breathe every 2 strokes. So on specific sets, you can actually incorporate that into your training so that you're breathing every 3 or every 5 strokes. Now, one of the sets that we did in college, which was a killer, we would do 10 50s freestyle. We would do them on the 50 55 interval. Now, everything that I say, including the interval, you can modify for yourself. I'll just give you an example of how we did it. 10 50s on the 55. Then we would go 2 rounds where we count how many breaths we take within the 50. So on the first 50, we would only take 4 breaths. So you take like 2 on the way down, 2 on the way back in a 25-yard pool. Then we would take 3 breaths on the second 50. So normally you would take 1 breath on the way down, 2 on the way back. Then on the third 50, we only take 2 breaths. So it takes 1, 1. Then on the fourth 50, it's only 1 breath in the whole 50. So you'll probably save it for when you come off the wall on the second 25. And then the fifth 50 is 0 breaths. So you don't take any breath the whole thing, and you repeat that 2 rounds through. It'll really expand your lungs. And believe it or not, it actually gets easier as you go through it, easier and more difficult at the same time, because you're expanding your lungs. You do that a few times and you're gonna be a monster in terms of maintaining your breath control. As your body starts to fall apart, you feel like you need to rush your strokes, get to the wall, you gotta keep it cool, keep it calm and composed, and you'll be surprised at what you can do. Again, modify as. Now, all of this would be meaningless if you did not incorporate a positive mindset. Now, a lot of this has to do with how you approach your feelings in the water in real time. And this comes back to mindset, because holding your breath is both physical and mental. It's not enough to just think that if you train a lot, you're gonna get better at this. Yes, you will adapt physically and you will improve your vital lung capacity and you will improve how you feel in the water. But what happens when you really start to fatigue and you're doing a difficult set, or you're doing these 10 50s where now it's time to take 0 breaths, your heart rate is high, and you're not really getting a lot of rest before you have to push off the wall. When you're doing those difficult sets, it really comes back to mindset. So when you approach the workout or you approach a set, having positive self-talk is so important, because when it comes to feeling anxiety or stress or fear or panicking, you actually have a lot of control over your own body. And it's really important that we remind ourselves of this. So make sure you have a positive attitude, use the right tools to adapt your training, and you're gonna be swimming faster with ease in no time. Now, if you want help on how you can incorporate all the stuff we just talked about and get a personalized training program by working with myself and my team, then make sure you click on the link down below so you can apply to work with us. Also, if you want to see how to swim perfect freestyle, you're gonna love this video I made right over here. I'll see you over there, and happy swimming.